to our second annual Nuclear Symposium.
It has been a tremendous year for nuclear, and if you've heard me speak before, I like to tell stories. I don't have the same reaction to when I say I'm a nuclear engineer to the general public anymore. 5 years ago, when I would tell them I'm going into nuclear engineering, it was always the, so you're going to build bombs? No, not at all. We all know that. Now it's, oh, wow. So you work on that one plant that's just down the road, or you're from the Midwest, so you probably work on the plants near Chicago, right? That's the reaction I get. Why aren't we the ones telling the story from the firsthand perspective? Take the risk. Share your story.
The issue we face is not a technical one. We know how to store fuel. We know how to recycle fuel. It is a political issue.
10 years ago, I was anti-nuclear. In fact, I came from a French family that protested against the construction of nuclear power plants. So I would have never thought that I'd be here 10 years ago. And in fact, if you would have told me 9 years ago that this room would be this full of different, folks from different industries, different backgrounds, that would be all the more impressive too. Frankly, I have every financial incentive to tell you that it is a problem. But frankly, it is not a technical problem. It's just an enormous untapped economic opportunity.
When I started out, I had mentors that said to me, hey, Amir, commodity business, you'll have 2 good years, 3 bad years. It's up and down. Well, in this 20 years, we've had 18 bad years and 2 good years cumulatively, right? And so it was a bit of false advertising for us to get into it. But that really means that there's been a huge amount of underinvestment on the uranium side of it. We basically used to have a uranium mining industry in the US in the 70s and 80s that led the world. There were, according to the DOE, there are stats that shows there were over 30,000 people employed in US-based uranium exploration and mining. Over 30,000. Today, that number is 400. Same stats. And we've gone from producing 40 million pounds domestically to right now we're not producing any domestically.
Say one of the things we could get from nuclear spent fuel recycling is transuranic fuels, right? Because inside of this waste, we have plutonium and minor actinides that can make up some next generation fuels. In order for recycling to have that unleash its full potential, we would want it to increase the amount of uranium we have for enrichment. We would also need to have other companies like startups we know are doing it to invest in the next generation reactors, the advanced reactors of tomorrow that are considering HALEU, and they should also consider true fuel, transuranic fuel, as some of the next generation power for these small modular reactors.
People talk about nuclear renaissance, and it's kind of a term that gets thrown around. But I think we are really at the cusp of something big and of something important. People and businesses across the country are continuing to thirst for clean energy, but we also want new, good-paying jobs. Want to develop new industries. Want to move towards a new energy future and create strong and durable economic growth opportunities for our communities. In conclusion, I'll just say, I think that strong, safe, responsible nuclear deployment is in our reach and will not be any. But if we all roll up our sleeves, we all stay open and get very creative in all parts of our processes, we can get there, I assure you. And I assure you that the Biden-Harris administration will continue to be a strong partner to you. Thank you very much.
With the Yaktichu tribe, also known as YTT. Say it twice because that means people. Yaktichu. Yaktalahini, which Talahini means the place of the full moon. We have a path that we try to follow, and that is you should be taking very little from Mother Earth, Father Sky, and water, lifeblood, maximizing the use, and returning very little.
Among young people, we have found overwhelming support for nuclear energy. Young people are pumped up about this technology and about what it can do for the planet, and they want to see more and more of it. And that's also coupled with rising support nationwide, not just with our membership of 18 to 35, but with Americans generally speaking. I think the favorability of nuclear is now at 55%, which is much higher than it's been in recent decades. And so the second point I want to make is, how do we continue that trajectory? How do we get people more and more bought in on this as a solution to climate change and to emissions reductions? And I think that we have to start with demystifying nuclear.
We also often get asked the question, are you for or against nuclear energy? And I actually think that's the wrong question. It's not simply a choice of being for or against, but how does it fit into that mix of solutions that we're going to need to solve the crisis of climate change?
Got me interested in nuclear energy was thinking about the legacy that I have, that really in the family, we always talked much more about the threat of nuclear weapons. I had read the narrative that was portrayed in the media, the news media effectively saying this is dangerous, terrible stuff. And as we know, many people were in that camp. And what happens if you look at it even closely at all, you see that we really need this energy source. And for me, a change of thought around abundance was a big part of it.
I'm with the Ministry of Energy, the Deputy Director of Power, in charge of nuclear and other alternative energy, and also part of the Ghana energy transition. Nuclear is really considered in Ghana energy transition pathway because I'll say we have no option. We've done all our energy analysis, and we realize that if we don't go nuclear today, we'll go nuclear in the future to come.
I was introduced to nuclear energy by a nuclear physicist who happened to also be from the Caribbean. He was from St. Lucia, and he introduced to me an option that really checked my boxes, primarily an energy source that is resilient in extreme weather events. It can provide reliable power, it's low emissions. Check, check, check. That's where I wanted to go, and that's ultimately what brought me into the nuclear energy industry.
And so one of the common questions that we sought to answer with this report was, well, do we even need new nuclear when we have all these cheap renewables? And the answer is yes. On the order of 200 gigawatts of new nuclear in the US by 2050, which represents a tripling of our current nuclear fleet. And that is especially given the build out of renewables that we're expecting in the US. Because a lot has changed in the last year and a half. First of all, there is unprecedented load growth that we're seeing, not just from AI and data centers, but also for the explosion of domestic manufacturing, as well as end use electrification. Renewed interest in AP1000s, given Vogtle Units 3 and 4 have come online with the support of a $12 billion loan from the Loan Programs Office and the Perseverance and Grit Southern Company and Georgia Power. And there has also been a step change in the valuation of the existing nuclear fleet.
The gray is gas. The nighttime is run by gas. And that's the story of an electric grid where you trying to apply renewables. The slogan I'm using is your Tesla is going to be powered by natural gas, not by clean energy. For nuclear, if you want a clean system, you've got to have a firm dispatchable source. And the only one that really works in this world today is nuclear.
I will actually say that it seems to me the crucial point of all these various studies as relevant to our conversation today is probably a point of agreement, which is that by 2040, in order to get to a target of emission-free electricity, we clearly need a significant amount of capacity of zero emission dispatchable resources.
We see that traditional nuclear is too costly or takes too long, or the risk parameters are too high, the uncertainties are too high for much commercial investment interest. There's two nuclear projects kind of going on in the US right now, but they are both with a lot of federal government funding, which is great to get the first of a kind projects going, but we want to get the private investors, private capital to come in. But we think that nuclear can outcompete fossil combustion just purely without needing government subsidies when it realizes the economies of scale and then the kind of innovative deployment models that we've been working on.
Let's make it feel like the more energy we give to this moment, the more likelihood we have of creating a new energy future. You feel us on that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, I've got the clicker.
And if you're waiting for like, when am I gonna dance? Like, when does the dancing start? Maybe let's dance right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a good chance.
You can stand up. You could move over here and like shake your buns around. You know.
We need change. Now is when it has to be. Hands in the air, uplifting humanity. When I say clean, y'all say energy. Clean, energy.
Clean.
Out with the old, in with the new and clear. Let me see your hands in the air for nuclear. When I say clean, y'all say energy. Clean, energy.
Clean,
energy. Nuclear upside is major. Clean energy solutions empower people, protect nature. Shout out to Isuru and Dinara and Markova. Let's comb the archives for an idea that we can blow up. Lastly, before it's done and we retire, big round of applause for my guy Matt Myers.
So that's how it wraps up Nuclear Racking. I hope that y'all wrap up here. Let's seize the future. Let's keep going there. Now the solar air. Shut to the pole.